Hey, what's up guys? Sir Emanon here, bringing to you a update to my Lunalight Orcust deck profile. So yeah, I was actually kind of writing this deck off for a little bit until I've been doing some more recent extensive playtesting with this deck. But turns out this deck I feel actually is definitely in contention for the best Lunalight variant, if not already the best Lunalight variant. As of the time of me recording this deck, Jesse Cotton just won the UDS in Panama with this deck. So yeah, that list hasn't been revealed yet, and it might not be revealed because YC Sunden is next week. But yeah, this deck is definitely still very strong, and with some optimizations that I've been doing through my extensive playtesting, I do feel like this deck actually has a very, very strong foothold in the meta and a very, very strong stake in the, just the overall field. So I do think that this deck is very, very powerful. The ceiling is basically the same as it always has been. It's just a little bit less consistent as far as putting out the full maximum end board combo. But as far as getting to what it needs to do with the Orcusts and rank fours on top of that and all the other stuff, it still does what it generally tries to do. And overall, I think that it is a very, very solid pick. And yeah, enough of me talking. Let's just go ahead and get into the deck profile. It's not my finalized build, and the meta is still developing to some degree. So there is definitely room for some changes here, and we might be able to see how the format progresses and how we can adjust accordingly. But of course, we're starting off with the 3 copies of Lunalight Orcust, which is very, very standard. Graveyard setup and does everything you need. Next up, we got the 3 copies of Tiger, of course. This card has become a lot more important to try and get a hold of multiple copies of in your first turn, simply because of the loss of Mermaid. The way you're getting to your Orcust now, for those of you guys who aren't aware, is you're summoning Curious the Lightsworn Dominion to send an Orcust card directly. So what that entails is you investing 3 monsters, whereas Mermaid required originally 2. And because of this, and also because of the fact that Curious doesn't put the Orcust body onto the field, unlike what Mermaid did. So you need an additional monster to be able to utilize the full Galatea, because previously you would just need the Mermaid plus the Nightmare on the field, and then go into Galatea with those 2, and then Orcust Nightmare would send the Harp, which is summon Symbol, and that made your second Galatea, and that set you up perfectly for Symbol. But now if you want to do that, you either have to have 2 Orcust names in your graveyard, different names, being Harp, Wand, or Nightmare, or you need additional monsters onto the field. So it's not even a 3 monster investment, it becomes more of a 4 monster investment. So because of this, it's very important that you have Tigers available to you. And scaling more than 1 becomes a lot more crucial now, simply because you're always scaling 2 Tigers if you could, right? But now it becomes even more essential because of the way that the deck inherently functions, and because of how safely you want to play the deck now. You really can't afford to be losing to things like main deck Nibiru, that is running around for sure, and just the abundance of hand traps that the likes of Salamangreat and Orcust can play now. So you definitely have to be on the watch for that. So yeah, enough of that, talking about that. 2 copies of Mail Martin, which is obviously pretty standard, and we got the 1 copy of Emerald Bird. Emerald Bird is absolutely crucial, and you definitely have to be running this card now. The reason why some people weren't playing it is to maybe slim down on potentially bulk normal summons or cards that weren't always live in the hand. But regardless, you need to see this card in your combos, because there are a lot of lines of play where you have to use Chick to send Emerald Bird first, and then go into Nyarla and detach the Emerald Bird for effect, and use Emerald to bring back the Chick, then Chick send Martin that way. It comes up a lot of times where you have to do that play in that specific order. So definitely Emerald Bird is a necessity, and I would definitely not skip out on that. It's very, very important. So yeah, that's gonna be it for the Lunalight monsters. And then playing the Armageddon Knight still. Yes, this card loses to hand traps, and that does suck. But you also just want to be able to make sure you have enough starter cards to play. And additionally, because of what I said earlier with you having to, have either 2 Orcust names or an additional monster on the board to link away the first Galatea into the second with, this card becomes pretty valuable if you are able to preserve your normal summon. Maybe you can start off with a Serenade Dance play and then go into this later on in the combo after you Azathoth or whatever. But this can be used to send obviously your Orcust cards as well as your Zephyrs to be able to just have more utility. And the more names that you can get into the graveyard, the better, obviously, for what I was mentioning earlier with the whole Orcust combo. But yeah, you just want to be able to have as many ways to be able to kickstart your engine if you need to. And then rounding out the, not rounding out the monsters, but rounding out, like I guess the core component of the Lunalight engine is the Zephyrs. I don't have to really explain this card. You do search it a lot later in the combo a lot of the time. I rush Azathoth every single turn one, even in game one. Like I always go for Azathoth and I always try and play around Nibiru and every other hand trap that I can. If the situation calls for it, I'll even try and play around Ash, which I mean I can talk about in a combo video later on. If you do guys, if I can't even speak right now. If you guys do want to see a combo tutorial, definitely be sure to let me know by giving the video a like. Yeah, if you guys want to see a sort of just a session of me kind of sitting down and doing like maybe 10 or 20 or so test hands, I'd be more than happy to do that. I'll like fast forward it and just kind of talk through my plays and stuff. But yeah, definitely leave a like on the video and I will definitely get to it. Let's shoot for like 70 likes to see that video, just so you guys you know, show your enthusiasm on the video if you will. But anyways, moving on from that, let's go ahead and get into the danger portion. So this actually hasn't changed from my YCS Niagara list. It's a 2 Nessie, 2 Jackalope, 2 Tsuchinoko, and 2 Mothman. I should put these all in frame. Okay, so yeah, these 8 I feel are sufficient enough. I don't really think, you know, you want to run cards that don't potentially contribute to your combo, especially since we are still blinding first with this deck. So like, while I understand the reasoning behind potentially running cards like Bigfoot and stuff, I don't really feel that's necessary. Like you're not running, if you're not going to run back removal, then like, I mean, I don't think it's like a great strategy to try and just rely on like Nessie if you need to like out of floodgate. Like, you know, you would rather just run more back row removal cards if you were that concerned of it. So I think just going all in on the engine is fine. This is obviously necessary for being a level 4, which, you know, contributes to Azathoth, and these being contributors to Curious makes them even more valuable an asset than ever, because Curious is now the focal point of the deck, so you need to be able to index towards that as much as you can. So yeah, that's going to be it for the dangers. Next up, we're going to move into the Orcusts. So we have 2 copies of Nightmare, 1 Harp, 1 Symbol, and 1 Wand. So you'll also notice that this is the exact same ratio that I've been playing and that has been standard for quite some time. This is definitely a testing point and maybe a point of contention for some of you guys. You could definitely opt to run like 1-2-1-1 or 2-2-1-1 or even 1-1-1 and not Wand, or like just one of everything. Many different options that you have available to you, but I opted for the 2-1-1-1 route. I think it's the same as if I did like 1-2-1-1. But yeah, I generally just think that if you have 2 of a different name, then you can always send the 1 of name with Curious, and then if you happen to mill the second one off of the Curious, like with the mill 3 effect, then you are able to just freely be able to special the Symbol off the Harp and then send the Wand off the Nightmare, which contributes a lot to what I was talking about earlier, again, with the whole making sure you consolidate your monsters correctly. So yeah, being able to just you know, have a variety of monsters that you can either open up with, which is pretty good because that allows you to send a Eradicator, Imperial Order, whatever, Floodgate. And also having the versatility of just being able to like make your dangers better if you just pitch them off your dangers. They're just very, very good cards to have. And Orcus contribute to the Lunalight grind game like no others, so I think that that's why, you know, it's a very strong selling point of still running this engine post-banlist. So yeah, that's going to be it for the Orcus cards, and that actually rounds out the monster lineup here. So moving on to the spells real fast, we got 3 copies of Tenki, the Standard Searcher, nothing to explain there. 3 Perfume, obviously, 3 Goods, this is all pretty standard. The Foolish Burial, which obviously is, you know, stable for sending your Kaleido Trick to be able to start your combos, but also can send like Harp Horror in a pinch, which is pretty good. It enables your Curious to be more free, which is also super nice. And also I'm playing 3 Called by the Grave right now, so this is like the flex spot. I feel like you can run maybe Impermanent or Cosmic Cyclone. There's also the Time Thief engine that I do want to experiment with, and I might, you know, make a video on that later on. But yeah, Called by the Grave is very essential in my opinion, because a lot of the times you're going to get stopped now en route to Azathoth. So it's kind of weird to say like you need insurance against hand traps that in a deck that summons a card that literally stops hand traps. But in order to, play around things like Ash on Tenki, which honestly is probably, I would say, the correct time to Ash, or like, Ash on Perfume Engrave and stuff like that. Like, in order to stop early activations of that, you just want to make sure that you have a card that allows you to resolve your plays, and then you can just kind of go unhindered. It is good because Orcust and Salamangreat is still running around, so you can just use it as a defensive card if you don't need to stop, like, hate cards on your turn. It's also nice because No Material and Lancey I feel are going to be very, very popular side cards, especially No Material moving forward after Jesse's win. So you definitely want to be sure that you have cards to stop those. If you do want to kind of be greedy post sideboard and play into No Material, but you should honestly just play around it. But this kind of allows you to just be safer in that regard. And I do think that while it's not necessary to play like just as part of your engine, it is a very good asset to have. So that's it for this spell lineup. And now for the traps, very simple and nothing too much change here. So Serenade Dance, obviously as a combo piece, Orcust Crescendo, and Eradicator. So I still am running Eradicator over like Order and stuff. I just think that if you're running the Orcust package, it just is inherently more synergistic. You have the ability to just access Dingirsu on pretty much every end board. You'll notice that I didn't run Babel. That's something I'm also back and forth on. I do feel that Babel works pretty well with the Eradicator, but at the same time, you also have the ability to usually just do Galatea and then summon another Galatea and then go revive the first one and then do Dingirsu and then just set Crescendo instead. So it's almost as good. The only real time where it's detrimental is like where you can go for Eradicator and then like mill Crescendo off of Curious, and then you want to have like a secondary target. But like those situations are kind of niche and don't come up often enough for me to justify it. So I decided to just stick with that. And you'll notice also that this is a clean 40 card list. Deciding to just streamline the deck as much as I can to minimize bricks and to be able to just focus on doing the same thing every game, which I think is conducive to what this deck is trying to do in this metagame. So 40 card main deck. Moving on to the extra, we have for the links one Barricade board blocker. This card is really important not only for being a dark machine that helps make Curious, but its effect to just freely pitch a card is really nice. So if you guys aren't aware, this card does say that you discard a card and then during the end phase you add a continuous or field spell from grave to hand, but you don't actually have to have one in the graveyard at the time of activation because it checks on resolution as far as adding the card back to your hand. So the really cool thing about this is that you can just discard a card out of your hand, like Serenade Dance or Zephyros that you need in grave, or even Orcust for that matter, and you can just generate additional pluses that way, which kind of sounds weird, right? Like you're discarding cards, but they're cards that gain you value in the grave anyway. So very, very essential. It's good for being able to have nice sideways arrows for the Griffin play, if you do choose to run that, which I am. So yeah, this card is very, very important, and I do think is a staple in the Lunalight Orcust strategy. Next, I play the Darumidal. This is arguably a flex spot, but it does help you play around No Material. People will often side out Nibiru against you because you can play around it so freely. But in exchange for that, you lose to No Material. So by being able to just go into this and then, using Martin to bounce your Tiger and then bring back Kalechick and then making your Nyarla Azathoth underneath this, it ensures that, like, your opponent, doesn't... Like, your opponent can still No Material you, but if you have other extenders, then, like, you can... be able to still play beyond that. You could argue that like Barricade board blocker does a job better because it's a dark, so it helps you make Curious. Since Nyarla is actually not a dark monster. We got one Phoenix, generic back row out, of course. So I'm playing two Galatea at the moment. This can change into Galatea Longirsu. I've actually found instances though where the second Galatea is more valuable. I haven't really resolved a Longirsu effect like too often, even going second. There are just times where you want the second Galatea to be able to easily summon, and it's just a lot easier to be able to manage instead of having like an extra material if like you do have an extra one in your extra deck. So definitely would you can definitely justify the Longirsu if you wanted to, but I don't think it's necessary. Curious, which is the most important card of the extra deck. This deck is not playable without this card. And then we have the Griffin for the Eradicator combo, and it is a very nice floodgate. You are often able to just use Zephyrs after you do your whole combo, and then put a rank 4 like above the Griffin in the extra monster zone, which will kind of prevents your opponent from using that zone to be able to summon link monsters and like activate their effects and stuff. And then Boriswell Dragon, which is how you OTK people. Not really too much to say about that. It's like your primary win condition. So that's it for the Link monsters, and then for the Xyz, we have Niarola into Azathoth. Niarola is a super important extender because you have to make Azathoth pretty much to play around main deck Nibiru, like I mentioned earlier. So Niarola is really, really good because it makes it so that your minus, as far as consolidating your two monsters into Niarola is actually not as bad because you can mitigate that by generating pluses with either Emerald Bird or Yellow Martin. So very, very important card. And of course, Azathoth is there as a necessity for insurance against the metagame. Next up, we got Force Strix, which you often summon later down the line to search your Zephyrs, of course. Dweller, which is I think a metagame staple for rank 4s. Evil Swarm Nightmare, which is also really good. You could argue to play like 2 Dweller and Evil Swarm Nightmare if you can find the space for it. I can't personally, but like once they out your Dweller, if you can like summon a second one, that's really good. Or you can like summon a Nightmare first and then summon Dweller, and like that like oftentimes closes things out. Tornado Dragon for backward decks and stuff, and then Dingirsu, which rounds out the Orcust and the Xyz monsters. So that's it for this extra deck, and finally we're going to move on to the side deck, which is really, really tentative because the format again is still developing, so not really entirely sure what we're going to play here yet, but I have some initial thoughts. So first up is Lantia. Orcust is everywhere, not even just this deck, but like pure Orcust, so you just want to be able to have a turn skip because you can kill people so easily. Next up is No Material. Because of how I feel this deck is going to be gaining in popularity again, this is a very good card to just be able to stop your opponent turn 1. And again, it's a turn skip, so if your opponent doesn't respect it and you drop it, then it's really good. Next up is a card that I've been kind of considering. So I'm playing Cosmic tentatively. I've historically really liked Twin Twister, obviously pitching things like Orcusts or Dangers is really good. But you just need cards that trade 1-for-1 when you're going second against like Orcust or Salamangreat. And yeah, it's true that Floodgates are probably the deck's like worst matchup, like just Floodgates in general. But you kind of want to, not blindly hit back row if you can help it anyway to just, save it for the cards that you really, really need it for. So I think it's okay to play the Cosmic. You can definitely play Twin if you opt to do so. And we have 3 Impermanents, another kind of going second hand trap. This one obviously can't be stopped by Call by the Grave, and it's like really, really good also against like the mirror match, and you just want cards that you can flexibly play going first or second, and this kind of just fits the bill. And then finally, Red Reboot for the trap decks out there like Draco and Geist and stuff, which again, Floodgates are your worst matchup, so you just want to be able to account for those. So yeah, that's going to be it for the update for the Lunalight Orcust deck profile. Not really much has changed too much as far as the main board. The combos are harder to kickstart because you need, again, to invest more resources to begin with. But overall, I think that the ceiling of the deck is still very, very high, and it's a very appealing choice to play in this format. Once again, if you guys do want to see a combo video or a play testing hand sort of style of video, be sure to like the video once again. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like as well as any thoughts or feedback in the comment section down below. Feel free to subscribe for more informative and competitive Yu-Gi-Oh content. Also, if you want to, you can follow me on Discord, Twitter, or Twitch. All 3 links in the description as always. And once again, thanks guys for watching, and until next time, I will catch you in the next video. See you guys!